Hi, everybody. Welcome to Two Out the First. Welcome to the first Two Out the First on GNN TV. I'm Ryan Ballingy. Thanks for being here. We are a show that goes over the top two stories in golf each day in a 30-minute show. We live stream our show here on GNN TV as well as throughout social platforms on Golf News Net. It's great to have you here today. We've got plenty to talk about. We've got a couple of important issues that came up related to Jon Rahm and Live Golf and the DP World Tour. So we're going to cover those in our time today. And then also we're going to talk about the fallout from the Solheim Cup, which I get to have in my backyard here in the DC area over the weekend. And then we'll spend a couple minutes just talking about GNN TV because, hey, it's here and we're excited to talk about it and have you here with us. So let's talk about our first story. And it's really an amalgamation of a couple of different stories, but goes back to even before Jon Rahm won the final event of the individual schedule on the Live Golf League. He won the Chicago event at Bolingbrook Golf Club, which is a public access golf course, by the way, that seemingly held up pretty well to the professionals over the course of 3 days with Live Golf. But Jon Rahm wound up winning that event, wound up winning the individual title for that tour, won $4 million for the tournament, $18 million for the season-long race, some ring that definitely is gaudy and has some kind of QR code with a highlight he can scan. I mean, all of those things are nice, and that's great for him. However, this all kind of plays into the bigger issue of the schism in golf, right? So at the beginning of the week, Jon Rahm talked about what his schedule is going to look like after this upcoming week, which is the end of the 14-event season on Live Golf. It's their team championship. But after this week, he's done for the year, right? He can go and play other places. He is contractually not obligated to play another Live Golf event until February 2025. With that in mind, he has a schedule to maintain, right? You got to maintain your talent. You got to keep going. But also, he needs to maintain DP World Tour membership. And the reason he needs to maintain that is because you need to be a DP World Tour member to play on the European Ryder Cup team. And that European Ryder Cup team is selected next year. And there are a couple of different ways to get in, one being a captain's pick, one being a part of the new kind of combined points list that will take shape for 2025. However, the more likely outcome is that Rahm's going to be one of the captain's picks because he's not going to be able to play enough DP World Tour events against the Live Golf schedule to be able to qualify through the point system. And that was to be expected. However, regardless of how he qualifies, whether that's points or pick, you need to be a DP World Tour member to be eligible. And to do that, you need to play in 4 non-major DP World Tour events of the year. So the DP World Tour co-sanctions all the majors, and back when they were WGCs, they did that. Those events don't count toward DP World Tour membership currently. You have to play 4 non-co-sanctioned, non-major events. So your Olympic competition counts this year. Obviously, that's not every year, but that counts. Your National Open, if that's on the schedule, counts as 2 events. And then you have to go play another event, in Rahm's case, to be able to get to that 4 event credit, maintain membership for 2025, and be eligible to be picked. And frankly, even in 2025, he doesn't have to play the 4 events. He's got the membership so he can be picked. So what he said at the start of the week was, I'm going to play in the Spanish Open. I'm going to play in the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. And I'm going to play in the Estrella Damm NA Andalusia Masters, also in Spain, throughout September and October. That'll be how I get to my 4 events, and I'll maintain my membership. However, he also kind of laid down the gauntlet for the DP World Tour in saying that he would not pay the fines he has been levied for playing in competing events against the DP World Tour schedule by being on Live Golf. And those fines are believed to have racked up into a 7-figure sum over the course of this year, ranging from somewhere in the area of $70,000 to $75,000 to maybe $100,000. We don't know what the exact levy of that amount is, but if you do the basic math, it's about $1 million, somewhere in that area. And Rahm said he's not a big fan of the fines. He has no intentions of paying them. So he doesn't know if the DP World Tour is going to let him play in the tournament. Okay, well, then the DP World Tour got wind of that from that news conference and put out a statement and said, Jon Rahm cannot play. No DP World Tour member cannot play if they don't resolve the fines and penalties that have been levied against them. Jon Rahm's no exception. Martin Keimer had to do it to play in the Germany event this year, and he needs to be just like Jon Rahm and pay the fines. And so, with a day to go to enter the Spanish Open, Rahm went ahead and filed an appeal with the DP World Tour, appealing the fines so that while that arbitration process plays out, he is still eligible to play DP World Tour events, which means he can play at least in the Spanish Open, and depending on how quickly it's heard, maybe the other two events, finish out that 4-event docket, maintain his membership, and continue. However, the DP World Tour has come back and said they really have no intention of letting him continue to play without paying the fines. They want to pursue that through the arbitration case. A similar style case they've already won before in enforcing the rules that they've set up for their membership, which means there's a very good chance that eventually they're going to be able to say to Jon Rahm, hey, buddy, you got to pay up those fines or you can't play in the next event. The question is how quickly that process plays out and whether that happens before the Estrella Dam, NA, Andalusia Masters, and Soto Grande, Spain, or are all those events done and then he goes ahead and gets to keep his card pending potentially paying those fines. And if the end result of this arbitration hearing is that he has to pay those fines, then the ball is in his court. Does he want to play in the Ryder Cup? And is he willing to foot a 7-figure bill to do so? Knowing that the rumors are out there that he has a $300 million live golf contract in hand that he's been paid handsomely for already and can very easily pay that sum. Or what could happen, and that's the next wave of the story, is that Live Golf could pay the fine on his behalf. And they have so far, according to Sports Illustrated reporting, paid somewhere in the area of $15 million of fines for their Live Golf players so that they can maintain DP World Tour membership and also play in Live Golf events. So that happened to Martin Keimer, that's happened to Laurie Cantor, that's happened to Bernd Wiesberger and others, where they've had those fines paid for in some fashion by Live Golf. Would they do the same for Jon Rahm? Almost certainly. What's interesting, though, on top of that SI reporting from Bob Harry, is that Live Golf sought to strike a deal with the DP World Tour to infuse £6 million, maybe dollars, but so £6 million or dollars into the DP World Tour in exchange for removing the structure where the Live Golf players would be fined as DP World Tour members for playing Live Golf events. In exchange, Live Golf would try to not schedule as many events that compete against important DP World Tour events, as their team championship this week in Dallas competes with the BMW PGA Championship, which is the DP World Tour's flagship tournament, the biggest event on the schedule. And then Live Golf would expect an exemption category for Live Golf members and also players who have done well through the Asian Tour's International Series points list, which the Saudis back with money to infuse into the Asian Tour schedule. All of that was heard and listened to by the DP World Tour. They said, no, thank you. And they ultimately put out a statement, said, we heard them out, but we want to seek a solution that puts everybody back together at the table. We're all one kind of universe again. Now, what's often forgotten about in this argument between Live and the DP World Tour is that the PGA Tour has a big hand to play. They are a quote-unquote strategic partner of the DP World Tour. The PGA Tour underwrites purses for the DP World Tour. They guarantee a 3% purse increase every year if the money that is brought in from sponsorship, title sponsorship, and otherwise doesn't meet that 3% increase. They underwrite it. They pay that out. They own a large percentage of European Tour Productions, which is the broadcasting arm of the DP World Tour. So the PGA Tour has a lot of say in the matter of financial and other influence. So that would have a big hand in how the DP World Tour would react to such a backdoor proposal from Live Golf. Meanwhile, you have Live Golf and their benefactor, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, having come out of recent discussions and negotiations with the PGA Tour in New York around September 11th of all things. But that's another topic for another time. And in those negotiations, according to Bloomberg, there was some progress, incremental, toward a deal. But one of the excerpts from the piece really stood out to me, and it probably will stand out to you. And that is that PGA Tour players want Rahm specifically to hand back to the tour some portion of the $300 million contract that he signed with Live Golf. And that could come in the form of a direct payment from the money he's already received. It could come in terms of the forfeiture of prize money that he earns on the PGA Tour in a reconciled PGA Tour. It could come in the form of donations to charity or some other kind of compensation package back to players. The reality is that's preposterous. It's never going to happen and was never going to happen. There is no universe in which Jon Rahm is going to hand back the $300 million he agreed to take from the Saudis for the reputational damage that comes with playing with Live Golf. He's not going to do it, even though he's made something in the area of $38 million this year between team and individual competitions on Live Golf. That is a sliver of the rumored $300 million that he signed for. And who knows what he actually signed for, but it's a sliver of that money, whatever it is. And so he has no incentive to give it back. Frankly, he would rather, if Live Golf went away, he would just take his chances on playing the 4 majors he has access to and doing nothing else with his time rather than pay that money back to the PGA Tour players. But this is an indication of where things are in these negotiations, the stumbling blocks. And there are many, but one of the big stumbling blocks is trying to get PGA Tour players over the line of looking for clawbacks, looking for retribution from the players who went to Live Golf. Frankly, we are beyond that stage. No matter what you think of Live Golf, and my opinions on the subject are clear. If you want a reconciliation, you have to move past what's already happened. You're not getting that money back. You're not getting those tournaments back. Really not getting those players back. You're getting an aged version of them by several years by playing Live Golf. So if this negotiation is going to be successful in the long haul, they've kind of moved past at least that stumbling block and focus on several others. For TV, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the Solheim Cup, and then we'll catch up to speed on everything new here on GNN TV. We'll be back after this. All right, for everyone watching on the stream, welcome back. Great to have you here on 2 Off the First today. Our second topic of 2 today is fallout from the Solheim Cup. I was fortunate to have the Solheim Cup in my backyard here in the D.C. area at Robert Trent Jones Golf Club, Gainesville, Virginia. It was a great event in terms of competition. The U.S. wound up winning on home soil for the first time in a long time, 2017. I mean, it's basically been a decade, almost a decade since the U.S. has won on home soil in the Solheim Cup. And they ended a European charge to retain the cup for 4 straight cups. They didn't win last time out, they tied, but retained the cup. So they were going for 4 victories, let's say, in a row, even with one not being an outright win. Late in the game on Sunday afternoon, it still felt like the Europeans had an outside chance to shoot the moon and somehow either tie or win. And there was about a 15-minute stretch in there where it seemed that victory for the Europeans was possible. Then things kind of started to happen and snowball. Lexi Thompson wound up kind of costing herself an opportunity to become the clincher by losing a big lead. Andrea Lee couldn't get it done in front of her to set her up to be the clincher. But Lauren Coughlin fought back against Maya Stark to earn a critical half point. And that set up Lilia Vu, who seemed doomed on the 17th green, facing a 30-footer for birdie that seemingly was going to leave her, at best, 2 down going to the final hole. Out of it, best 1 down going down to the final hole. She was 2 down going into the hole. She winds up making that putt. She winds up going 1 down, so extending the match to 18 instead of losing it. Hits the ball in the fairway, and from there, hits a skipper yardage from 103 to about 1.5 feet. Winds up winning the hole, winds up having the match, and clinching the half point that the United States needed to win the Solheim Cup. They got another point in the end. They win with 15.5 points. Great for them. Great to see the victory. It was cool to be there in person to have that happen here in the area. It was really well supported. The one thing I really wanted to talk about in talking about Solheim Cup in terms of the fan perspective, I know everything didn't go well at all on Friday with the transportation situation. A lot of people were upset, multiple hour-long lines, and I do wish the LPGA would have gotten out in front of it in a different way. To have Molly Marcoux come out on Saturday to talk about the things they had changed and not really address it particularly in person on Friday, whether that was with the media who were sitting in the media center or the fans who were out there waiting and felt like they couldn't stay because they didn't know when they were going to get to the venue. That should have happened. That could have been a better response. terms of the inside the ropes product and what you got there, it was really good. It was really, really nice. They did a good job. And the thing that's important to me as someone who tries to think about the future of golf is that this felt like a little bit of a different LPGA crowd. And I mean that in a great way. People were younger, more diverse, more men and women, more young people of color. There were a lot of different types of folks at this event that you don't even normally associate with golf events, much less LPGA events. And I think people are looking for something in golf that's a little bit different, that still feels exciting and unique, but doesn't feel outlandish and kind of part of a bit or a prop in a bigger conversation. And they found that in this. They found something to root for. They found the team thing fascinating. It always is. Team match play is great when you have something to root for and a real reason to root for something, even if that's just the same geographic connection. But it really was a compelling event. Everything can always be done better. RTJ probably isn't the perfect venue, although it was a great host. It's kind of in a somewhat remote location and makes getting in and out of the venue kind of difficult. Not stuff you ever would have seen on TV, but it makes it a logistical challenge, no doubt. And yes, that's maybe a detriment to the event this time around, but it's going to be really cool to have it at Valhalla in 2028. In between, they're going to be at the Netherlands for the first time in 2026. They're going to be about an hour out of Amsterdam by train, which is going to be pretty cool. It'll be a little bit different, hopefully a little bit more connected than what we saw, I think, at Courtesine, where while I love Spain, it definitely had logistical issues all of its own that were rampant throughout the week. But this is the LPGA's biggest event. Hopefully, it's an opportunity to capitalize on it. It's going to mark a change in the Solheim Cup moving forward. I assume Stacey Lewis is not going to come back for a third term as captain, like Julie Inkster did before her. I would assume this is going to be passed on, whether that's to Morgan Pressel or Paula Creamer or Brittany Lincecum or even Lexi Thompson. I mean, they're all viable options. You could throw Brittany Lang in there as well. You've got a lot of potential captains on the American side. But I thought Beth Ann Nichols did a great job with a wrap piece for Golf Week, kind of peeling back the layers of what Stacey Lewis did in these multiple years as captain to try to make the job easier for the next captain, to bring in KPMG to have as a sponsor for analytics, to bring in the folks at 21st Group to do that with Justin Ray leading the way. Did a great job with analytics and to kind of give players a perspective on why decisions are being made, better communication, to be able to look back to the past of the event and to recognize and appreciate it, have a past captain's room, to have past captains have multiple inside the ropes passes so they feel like they're welcome back as part of a reunion, not just someone that's vaguely recognized as being part of the history of the event. And I'm sure those same things happen on the European side as well. Suzanne Pedersen sounds like she's not coming back for a third term. She said immediately after the fact in the media center that she hasn't been asked about it. She has no assumptions about it. It was interesting to see the reaction of some of her players, namely Leona Maguire, who tweeted after the fact about having won her match, her singles match 4-3, after largely being on the bench for the entire Solheim Cup, that form is temporary, but class is permanent. And that kind of struck a wrong chord in some audiences. But then that she ultimately said, hey, we're all one team. We all fight together. There is some suggestion out there that Suzanne Pedersen wasn't well liked or wasn't perceived as particularly ready to do the job, but she did it twice and she tied one time. Fortunately, was able to rally behind players like Emily Pedersen and Caroline Headwall and Anna Nordquist last year in Spain. It didn't quite work out the same way this time, even though I thought the Europeans played very, very well for large stretches and just couldn't get putts to go in the hole. And that kind of happens sometimes. That's the nature of match play. It's the nature of golf. Sometimes you can do everything right and still lose, or a lot of things right and still lose. And still, they won the singles session on Sunday. They made a spirited comeback. They gave it a good chance. They gave the Americans a good run for their money on Sunday. So the LPGA has to take this momentum and try to swing it forward as best they can into this week's event, which is the Kroger Queen City Championship in Cincinnati. They've got a actually surprisingly good field post Solheim Cup, basically 20 of the world top 50 competing, including Nelly Korda, Lydia Ko, the Olympic gold medalist and the reigning women's open champion, as well as Rose Zhang is going to be there, who had a breakout Solheim Cup. I don't even think she went past 14 or 15 in any match over the course of the week. I mean, incredible week for her. We'll see if that translates into a win on the LPGA this week. There is no PGA Tour event. We did mention the Live Golf Team Championship in Dallas. There is also the BMW PGA Championship flagship of the DP World Tour this week. And then we have the LPGA event over there in Ohio. So, wrap everything up here on 2 Off the First. Thanks again for watching us. We appreciate it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about GNN TV, which launched officially on Sunday at the Solheim Cup. And you can watch it now on our website, golfnewsnet.com. Hopefully, over the course of the week, we'll be able to get this out as an update to our OTT apps for Roku and Amazon Fire, so you can watch it live on those platforms and our apps there as well. So you can watch it on pretty much any screen. You can watch it on your TV, on your phone, or your computer, on your tablet. Any and all is great. And over the course of the next several weeks and months, we will distribute GNN TV live to as many as 10 different streaming platforms, putting us in front of an audience of 30 to 40 million users each and every single day, which is incredible for us. And through Q1 of next year, we expect to double that reach to closer to 80 million unique users through a variety of streaming services and programming providers that you're very familiar with, but we won't talk about here for obvious reasons. It's very exciting to be able to bring this to you as a 24/7 channel dedicated to the game of golf with a mixture of live talk like we're doing here, but also that'll be simulcast on GNN Radio. And we'll also bring in live and recently aired competitions and events that you'll be able to see from the collegiate, amateur, and professional ranks. We'll also have stuff that's kind of golf adjacent, from simulator leagues to putting competitions to long drive contests to even maybe some golf gaming too, which will be exciting. There's lots to come on that front, as well as a bevy of great shows that are already airing on television around the country and around the world that talk about the game of golf and have done so for years with a level of expertise and class and authority that we're excited to have here on the channel. So if you're catching us for the first time on GNN TV, thanks so much for watching. If you're catching us for the first time hearing us about GNN TV, come check us out. We'll have lots more to share in terms of programming, distribution, and more in the weeks and months to come. That's going to do it for us today on the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Do this each weekday over here on GNN TV. Even throughout the fall, as golf gets a little quieter, but we'll still have plenty to talk about. You can get a hold of me, Ryan at thegolfnewsnet.com. You can get a hold of me on social media at the handle Ryan Ballengee, RyanBallengee, or you can find Golf Newsnet on your favorite social media service at the handle Golf Newsnet. Till tomorrow, thanks so much for watching. We will catch you next time on 2 Off the First.